Hello, welcome. In this video I'll be making something for my friend, and I thought, well, why don't I make something huge and useless? This way I don't have to store the end result because it's his problem. I make mostly small things, that way they take less time to print and they also take up less space when they're done. But I know he's a fan of Destiny and already owns a life-size Taken sword, so what better gift than another Taken themed weapon, specifically the Thorn. For those of you who don't know what the Thorn is, why did you click on this video? And thank you for watching anyway. It's a big revolver under the classification of a hand cannon. Is big and made out of pieces of Taken, which are basically aliens. So it's just a big alien poison gun that shoots thorns the size of the gun itself. If I can make one. Oh, these are great images though. Commence the theft. I mean, this dude's kind of impressive. Like, what the fuck? It has an included golden bullet. Wow. Just the one though. You can't do a proper reload animation because you can't like yeet the one that you have directly out the side. This is a brief explanation. I have to get references. This thing is big and it's weird. I'm not going to be able to make this without shed tons of references of as many angles as I can get. Is that... Oh, it's got glow in the dark bits. What the fuck? Tell you what, it's not getting glowing balls in it. I'm not that good. Now that I've done my references, all I have to do is make the gun. I wish it was easy as saying that, but it's not going to be. I'm starting with the cylinder because I think it's going to be the easiest bit. It's a good place to start. It's straightforward and is going to be needed to be a size reference for the whole project. And hey, like, this section's pretty satisfying to go together. I don't really want to fill this with thousands of time lapses, but you can at least enjoy this one with like the little cog sections. It was just a fun time, which is definitely needed because the whole project was a little bit of a headache. This is like the first time I've tried to replicate specifically a prop from anything. It's not really my wheelhouse. However, once that's done, we're moving on to the Minecraft version of the Thorn. This is gonna help like work out the size reference of everything else. It's super important that everything is to scale because otherwise it's gonna look like a weird cartoon gun. With something like this, it's pretty much guaranteed something's going to be wrong. And you just kind of have to accept that. It doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, it is a gift for a friend, but like, there's limits, man. No, this gun is full of complicated shapes. Definitely like relatively hard to read. So I'm just gonna kind of like go with it and guess. I'm gonna keep working until it eventually looks like the Thorn, but sometimes things are a little bit of a hit and miss. Especially when you're trying to interpret things into these like simpler shapes just so you can understand what the hell they are. Okay. I'm learning. Don't know what I'm learning, but I've learned something. It's about this point when I realized that, hey, I didn't actually get any references from the game at all. And I own the game. I didn't think, and I own the gun as well. Why did I not think go into Destiny and get some pictures of actual gameplay. I'm big brain, man, big brain. This bit is the bit that I'm kind of talking about, right? It's kind of like a, well, never mind. This bit is the bit that I kind of am confused by. It's just like a chamfered edge. It's not like a square edge or that's a baguette. Okay, I am back. I'm back, and boy, have I come back to some nightmares. You want to see these things? Let's move this out of the way so you can see it in all of its damn. What is this? What? Hello? Got a hole. Now, in day one, I managed to do the cylinder, the barrel, and here is pass 1 on the handle. I think that's alright. Hey, 3 hours, I made 3 things for starting a project. I think that's good enough, man. Hey, good enough. On to day 2, eh? Which is probably the hardest section. Day 2. I stopped last episode because I thought, hey, you know, I'm gonna be making the hardest bit. So I may as well start a day fresh with it, hey? And yeah, it went well, man. We had multiple crashes before any auto saves happened. I mean, couldn't get much worse than having to do the hardest bit 3 times. Woo! Now I think I'm skipping most of today since I really did screw up the audio somehow worse than yesterday. I put way too much automatic noise reduction on and it sounds god awful. But don't worry, cause not much happens. I'll just talk it through instead, man. It's fine. You can see me putting in time and effort into this, and then it crashes. Okay. How much did we just lose? Ah, yes, I love making things from scratch again. There is one main positive to doing it over and over again, though, is that you kind of get used to it. It's like you can now speedrun it because you know the steps that you took in order to make the same thing again. But it's not ideal, especially when like you're trying to work fast and you lose things. But it worked out fine. It was around about this time that I accidentally pressed the move button after going to pick up a parcel. So I spent about 2 hours talking into the void, I guess. But we're on the detailing section. Like, hey, a lot of this is made out of either aliens or pieces of rock. So, you know, it's gonna be fine. This is me just kind of like sketching out where the pieces of stone are supposed to be. I'll show you the result in a second. And there we go, as if by magic, we've now fast forwarded about 40 minutes into the future. I'm working on the hammer now instead. But hey, I'm trying to work things out and clearly getting a little experimental with some of the curve tools. Now, I know this is getting on, so I'm gonna jump forward quite a bit. I don't want this to go on too long. We're gonna start making some of the more finer detailed stuff. So here's the barrel. I'm gonna start actually like detailing the sides. We're gonna then jump forward as fast as we can because I don't want this video to be that long. We seem to be taking up a lot of time already. I mean, well, the first edit I did of this was almost 2 hours. The actual project itself, like just the modeling, took like 14 hours in total anyway. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna like soften up the edges using a lot of like the flatten tool to make it look more like worn out and more detailed. A lot of like scuffs and cracks, and then I'm also gonna add the hand wraps to the handle because I hadn't done that yet. It's a pretty simple process now that you've got kind of like cloth dynamics in there. Thank you, ZBrush. Big help for things like that. Makes things kind of easy, for sure. And that kind of marks the last step of actually like modeling the Thorn. I've now got to 3D print it. Now getting the scale right for this thing was a pain in the butt. According to one of the references I had got, it was a whole 0.56 meters. 56 centimeters for a gun is really fucking big. And it would have been virtually impossible to print, not to mention actually hold it. I think maybe my handle was slightly too big, but still 56 centimeters, that's a long gun. We're just gonna kind of like not do that. After a lot of playing around, I was like, 40 centimeters is about the right height. It makes things easier to print. That way I can have things that actually like work on the 3D printer, because I would have to cut it into so many different pieces. It's unreal to print it at 56 centimeters. So 40 is going to be fine, and it's still going to be huge. And now this is the bit where I have to say, hey, I didn't film any of it printing. That was a bit of a blunder. I printed two of these. I printed two of them. Unfortunately, most of the prints I did overnight, so I was sleeping through most of it. This meant I recorded literally none of it. And I'm kind of mad about that. Each one took about 23 hours. I split them into roughly 3 pieces. And then this also marks the point in which everything kind of just devolved, right? You can see down the bottom I've got goals. Yeah, those goals quickly went out the window. And then it took about 3 days to make. And then I had a big problem with my printer, and I couldn't print for a while, and it took forever, and it eventually got fixed, and then I was kind of out of like turning this into a video kind of head, and now I don't really know. And you might be asking, hey, what went wrong with your printer? This would be an important thing to document on a video about making something, all of the problems that came across. It was a difficult one. So I mean, I can tell you the solution. The problem was, right, when I first made the printer, I caught a wire in kind of like one of the cable ties. And it was absolutely fine, right? It had been tidied, it was clamped between 2 things, and it worked perfectly fine. Up until a point where I made something tall, like, say, the Thorn's barrel. It pulled the wire out, and because it was absolutely pinched to hell, it no longer had a connection when it went up past a certain layer, or went to, like, the very right of the print bed. And the problem with having something as specific as that is that I couldn't find a single help guide that was like, oh yeah, your wiring's screwed up, right? You fucked it up on day 1 and you've had it for like 4 or 5 years now. Nothing's gone wrong, but it was a day 1 problem. Like, that just kind of blows my mind. But like, no matter the keywords, I never found anything that was saying like, hey, a cable happened to break, which was super annoying. It was literally a coincidence. Otherwise I would have bought just like a whole new motor for the extruder, and that would have been £100 just to fix a broken wire. luckily, I have a friend who is an electrician. The very person I'm making the gun for. So he found out what his birthday present was. Pretty damn fast. 'Cause of course he did. He had to help me fix the printer, and I'm like, oh, just ignore all of these pieces of a mysterious gun on the floor. Just ignore those. That's nothing, man. It's fine. Now, painting wise, I wanted to do it all with a airbrush. I have like a crappy little wireless compressor and airbrush. Unfortunately, with like the metallic paints, it wasn't having it. It was really inconsistent, so you can see me right now just kind of blocking out the colors. I was really pushed for time by the end of this project. I was planning for it to be about a week long, and then it ended up taking most of July and August just to get it done. So the paint job wasn't as good as I would have wanted it to be. I think I did the bare minimum. I think that's pretty much the only way you can describe it. I don't think that means it doesn't look good. The whole thing as a project is possibly the most advanced thing I've currently made so far, so the paint job being maybe like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, I think is good enough. With future projects I might go a little bit further, especially if I have enough time. Time was the main factor of just taking zero risks and making sure that it gets done. And that kind of brings it to the end of the video. Thank you for watching the whole thing. If you liked it, a like would be appreciated. And if you want to see more, you can subscribe. Right now, I'll pretty much take any suggestions you leave in the comments. So, if you want to see more Destiny, tell me. If you want to see something else, though, you can put that in there as well, and I'll look at it. I don't know. Thanks for watching.